And good morning. We're live on the Falcons Podcast on YouTube. We're going to be live on Facebook. That's Atlanta Falcons on SI, and on X on Scout Kennedy. And then we will get rolling on a cool Wednesday morning. Still feels like spring, Nick. Around here, it's about touch 70 degrees and it's baseball weather. So It's been pretty good. Here we go. Welcome in, y'all. This is the Falcons Podcast. It is Wednesday. We are one step closer to the NFL Combine. We are one step closer to free agency in the new league year. We are one step closer to the NFL Draft, which means we are three step closer to the 2026 season coming already. It never stops, Nick. It just keeps coming. It's a year-round thing with maybe a week off in July.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, just excited for the offseason to be here and all this turnover and this Falcons team, which, hope springs eternal this time of year. Everybody's got a chance to get better. And, I mean, it's like we've said before, it feels like a transition season, but playing with house money. What we're going to find with Michael Penix, he made that investment. So far, we'll see what happens. And one thing I will say is I think it will be even if it is a rebuilding season, you should be excited about it too, because you have some superstar playmakers. So we'll see what the product is and the actual, results on the field, which matter more. I'd rather watch a boring team win than an exciting team lose. But with the playmakers that you have, it's at least going to be freaking exciting.
Well, and here's the thing, Nick. This was the plan. This was Terry Fontenot's plan, at least part of it. It didn't come to fruition in the 2024-2025 season. It didn't come to fruition. But if you look at the way they handled free agency and the way they drafted, this was supposed to be the reset year. Mm-hmm. It was a bunch of money on 3-year deals or so in 2023 with Caden Ellis, David Onyemata. Jesse Bates has been extended, that type of stuff. And then in 2024, you get your quarterback. You sign Darnell Mooney, which is basically a 2-year deal for 2024 and 2025. And then for your in your draft class that year, you took a bunch of guys that were supposed to replace those older players after you made a run for it in 2024 and 2025, with Grady Jarrett being out, Kirk Cousins being out, David Onyemata being out, these 30-something guys, and then you're replacing them with Michael Penix. You're replacing them with Rook, with Brandon Dorless, with these type of players. So this was always the plan, to have a reset year in 2026. It was really naive. I'm not going to say arrogant, but it was really naive to think that you could take a losing roster and turn it into a winner while simultaneously planning to be reset with young players and not miss a beat in 2026. And it cost Fontenot and Raheem Morris their jobs.
Rightfully so. And also, I mean, to the credit of the defense and Ulbrich and everything, you guys were, in theory, close, right? The defense took a big step forward. I mean, this was the best pass rush we'd seen from the Falcons in a bit. We'll leave the conversation on how that changes this season in a box, because we'll see how that plays out with the guy you traded up for last season. But regardless, should be a fun, exciting offseason. And like you mentioned, this is a season with a lot of potential turnover, but the core, I still think in it, you have a chance to add to the core as well. So we'll see. But as what I've seen covering the Broncos, the players are great, but you got to have the right man leading the ship. And hopefully that comes with the right quarterback down the line as well. But
it's funny how you've evolved on that after a little bit. You've steered a little bit more that direction. It's just there's some difference maker players, but there's such fine margins in this league, that it's so close.
And it's not even necessarily always the exact offensive play calling or system. It's the winning football operation as a program, and understanding the pieces and the type of coaches and how they align with everybody pulling the same direction. So obviously Stefanski didn't have that in Cleveland at the end. And it's not coach or personnel. It's both. But that's obviously personnel was not quite good enough in Cleveland. That was stuff outside of Stefanski's control. So clean slate for me here in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think and Cleveland's got like, all 5 of their starting offensive linemen are free agents, and their offensive line was past it anyway.
Oh, they were so bad.
Talk about a rebuild coming on, and hell, they still have like $130 million of Deshaun Watson's money on the books.
I feel so bad for Myles Garrett.
They've only gone through half of it. I don't feel too bad for him. He didn't have to re-sign.
No, but
he could have played that out, and he's got about $250 million to not feel too bad about. So he chose the money over choosing leaving, and which is his right. Good for him.
Yep.
But I don't feel bad for him one bit.
Let me shift that. I feel bad for the NFL, for us, Scott, NFL fans at large, to have somebody like that in. I wouldn't even call it purgatory. It's hell up there with the Cleveland franchise when he's been, I mean, honest to God, Scott, like the last 20 years, as far as like defensive players who are like transcendent, I'd probably put 3 people up there. And Myles Garrett would be one of them. Aaron Donald would be one of them. And then JJ
Hold
Watt.
on. Because I had the 2.
Okay. I don't know if you heard me.
Who's the 3rd one?
He had injuries, but he won Defensive Player of the Year, I think, 3 years. In a row, and he was awesome, but he tailed off quickly because of injuries.
Was it TJ?
Other one.
JJ.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
JJ. And I almost feel like it feels like he's been gone a while, you know?
Yeah. 20 years.
Yeah.
His peak was unbelievable.
Yeah. I saw him at, I went to a game at the Big House. It was Wisconsin, Michigan, and I was on the field for that game. And I didn't know anything about it. My cousin was having a wedding, and we had a big Michigan site at Scout. I said, hey, if you give me a credential, I'll take pictures for you. And they're like, all right. So I went and watched, and I'm like, this guy's a monster. You know, I'm looking at draft rankings and stuff, and he's like in the 20s. I'm like, he's a monster. What are you talking about? I mean, he's Frankenstein out there. Anyway, let's say hello. That's why we go live. So we've set the show just a little bit, and we're going to talk some salary cap casualties, and not playing casualties. That's different. You know, if we talk about, hey, Clark Phillips could be, cut, or J.D. Bertrand who he cut, they're not being cut because of what they're being paid. Those aren't salary cap casualties. These are guys that, hey, if they were making less, you might like to keep them, but they're not worth what we're paying them. That's a salary cap casualty. So those are the difference there. But we do want to say hello to some folks. And I want to start off by saying hello to Jerry, who has followed the call to action. And Jerry has become a new member. And Jerry has joined Demetrius Hawkins, who became a member right as we went off the air on Monday. So thank you so much. What this does is as people start tuning out in the offseason and things slow down, it helps keep us going. Because, this is a cyclical business for us. With the season is the best time. Actually, March can be the best time with free agency and draft and stuff. But once we hit May, June, July, the dog days, y'all being members to the show really helps keeping us going. So thank you, Demetrius. Thank you for Jerry for becoming a new member. Denver Luke comes in. He says, morning, Scott and Nick. It's mock draft Wednesday. Yes, it is. We will do a mock draft today. We'll run through it quickly. I want to talk a little bit of Bijan Robinson too, because I came up with, I didn't come up with it, but I noticed something that was really interesting to me about his 5th-year option. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. And then let's say hello to some folks who have come in, like Charles came in nice and early. Says, good morning, Scott and Falcons community. That's all y'all. So good morning from Charles. And Rusty's he's fired up. He says, sign and trade Kyle Pitts or let him walk. He does not want Kyle Pitts on $15 million. Let Tyler walk. Yeah, I'm not sure you've got a lot of choice there on Tyler Algier. Those aren't salary cap casualties, though, because they're free agents. Release Mooney. There's number 1 of your salary cap casualties. Resign Caden Ellis. Let Floyd walk. Resign Arnold Ebiketie, but don't break the bank. Floyd wasn't good. Not sure what y'all were watching last year. I thought he was okay. When I'd keep an eye on him, I thought he did a job. He didn't get the sack numbers, but when I was watching Floyd and watching the edge rushers, because that's probably who I watched the most last year, Nick, just because of the rookies being there, I'd always spot the edge rushers and keep an eye on them. Floyd did a good job of holding down the edge, and he was getting pressures. He was affecting games. Do I want him as a number 1 or number 2? Not really, but as a number 3, number 4. And if you've got some money for a veteran in there, a grown-up in the room, I thought Floyd did okay. I wouldn't mind him being the $8 million veteran that is back on this team.
I mean, that's the reality of the edge position. When you say 8 million, somebody might, oh, why not 5? It's like, well, edge is always going to get a little
cheap.
Yeah, 8 is. Oh man, what a living to make. But yeah, 8 is cheap, and he raises the floor and brings in a little bit of a known quantity that we saw again, as you said, did a job last season. So again, is he a long-term plan? No, but considering you have some tumultuous issues going on at the edge position, bringing somebody back like that for cheap as your second wave guy who can come in and play, what do you think, Scott? 20-30% of the snaps for a year as you kind of string along to reset again at that position next season. That's fine. That's the reality of many backup positions across the league. Now, do you want to get to a point where you are 4 deep and loving your guys at edge, and then also 4 or 5 deep on interior, loving those guys where you don't have room to sign a Floyd? Absolutely. Are we there yet? No, we're not. So the Floyd is fine being back for the right price.
How I put it with this team, Nick. Good morning, Robbie. Good morning, Unbeatable. Terry. Jerry comes in, the new member. He doesn't have his little bird yet, but he'll get it. So I was up just waiting to hear Kyle Pitts has been franchise tagged. I think, to Rusty's point, like, you can't just let him walk. He's an asset. I'm not going to let him walk when I can keep him for, and Rusty followed up saying the Ravens and the Eagles don't spend $15 million on a tight end. So why would the Falcons, why would they do something like that stupid here? Because I think of him more as wide receiver 2, and the savings you could get this year from Darnell Mooney as your number 1 cut candidate is basically enough to cover the nut on Kyle Pitts. It's 18 million and 11. I think he signed 7, but if you split that across 2 years, you can end up saving about 12 this year, split, and then take a little bit of dead money next year. So that's cap neutral by franchise tagging him, and then you've got some options. Someone says, "Hey, here's a, Denver. We think he's the difference between at pick 30. We think he's the difference. We're willing to send number 30 to get Kyle Pitts." All right, I'm listening. I wouldn't do it for anything higher than a 50. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't trade him for anything lower than a 50.
Yeah, I think
probably a top 50 pick.
I think teams would be calling about round 3 picks, just because. I mean, you even heard from the league how valuable and how good and how young George Pickens is. It sounds like the tag and trade for him is a second rounder. So like, it's when you're having to pay those guys as well, there is a massive, almost, I would say, a full round depreciation.
1, he's double the money.
Yeah.
He's twice the money.
Yeah.
In a tag. He's 30 million in a tag instead of 15. 2, he's caused problems at both places he's been. Kyle Pitts has not.
Yeah.
So I think there's some red flags associated with that, because it is the money. I can get Kyle Pitts for $50 million for 3 years.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Who knows what his agent will want? I mean, we've seen the flashes.
But I want a top 50 pick if I'm going to move on from him. Otherwise, again, what is my risk with Kyle Pitts if I tag him? Well, that I wasted $15 million. Okay, that was the risk last year by not trading him. Was I'm going to waste $11 million. And you got $11 million of value out of Kyle Pitts last year.
Easily. Yeah, easily.
So it's fairly low risk overall if he's back on the team, Nick.
I'm with you. I think teams will be calling with a third in that range. But it just makes more sense to keep him and tag him. As much as I would love to see him hit the market and, Sean Payton get his hands on him in Denver, or seeing what he's like with a more stable quarterback situation than the Falcons have right now. He is still only 24 years old.
I think he turns 25 this year.
And he's a baby. I mean, there's tight ends that are coming.
Season 6. So he started at 20. I think he turns 26 this year.
Turns 26. Well, either way, he's still a baby.
6th year.
Yeah. And you see the talent on there. I mean, he just drips with talent. So he's definitely well worth the risk of, even if, you're just repeated last season, you let him walk after this. He's worth the risk to go out there and bring him in. The only question there, Scott, is does this regime value him, want him? Then It's a conversation of tag and trade, because you just are looking to accumulate anything versus nothing. So we'll see. But again, from where I sit, he's talented enough. He's useful enough. He's different enough. And there's still enough upside that the 15 million is chump change comparatively to the cap.
Yeah, and that's again, we talk about this, and I've got it's scheduled for 9:00. So when y'all get done, you can go read it or not, since I'm about to talk about it. But the Bijan Robinson thing, Bijan Robinson's 5th-year option, and now Kyle Pitts with his 5th-year option, being that we say one of the reasons you don't necessarily want to take a non-premium position early, Nick, is because you lose the cap savings on the rookie contract. That said, the 5th-year option on these guys is based on their position, not necessarily on their usefulness. And Kyle Pitts' 5th-year option was relatively cheap. His franchise tag will be relatively cheap. Now, Bijan Robinson, and this is shocking to me. It shouldn't be, but it still kind of is. Out of 31 or 32, I don't remember if that was the year that someone lost a first-round pick. 5th-year options. The cheapest 5th-year option in the class of 2023 is Bijan Robinson at $11.4 million. So while you didn't really get a lot of savings to begin with in the first couple of years of his deal, he's a $20 million player, Nick. He's right there with Saquon and Christian McCaffrey. He's a $20 million player that you're going to get for half price these next 2 years because he's only 7 on the end of his rookie deal, and then he'd be 11.4 on his 5th-year option. You are absolutely recouping savings on years 4 and 5 on Bijan Robinson deal. The cheapest 5th-year option in the entire NFL is Bijan Robinson in the class of 2023.
And if I was his agent, Scott, I'd be clipping what you have right now and sending it to the Falcons front office and being like, if you want this guy in the building, show me the money. It's obviously people. You and I are both
They don't hold out for non-guaranteed. Once the contracts are guaranteed, we don't see holdouts anymore, though.
I think running back might be a little. I still think running back might be a little different, especially because he was in the pre-NIL landscape of the NFL. So if I was his agent, yeah,
which means he had to launder his money better.
No comment. But that's if I was his agent, I mean, it is the guarantee, but you're looking for the long-term security. So like, obviously, even if it is the same prorated amount, you're getting much more.
$22 million on his rookie deal.
He's worth more than that.
But I mean, it's not like he's, once we started seeing guaranteed deals, we stopped seeing holdouts.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. That's what, you've heard me say a million times, Nick. I don't mind an a-hole. I can't stand a hypocrite. And that goes way back for me. 1999, Jamal Anderson is holding out, and Dan Reeves, who had just cut 3 players from the 1998 team, Jamal Anderson's holding out after having like 450, setting a record for he has a contract. He should be here. Well, you just cut 3 guys with contracts. These contracts aren't guaranteed. That's hypocritical to me. The non-guaranteed. Once they started guaranteeing these deals, we stopped seeing holdouts of guys who are under contract. Now you'll see them. We see them in baseball a little bit because they've got
arbitration.
They've got you saw them before they would actually sign because they have options. Hell, I'll go back to college. I'll go do something else. But the NFL was totally against players.
One thing I will say to this point, Scott, and I agree with you, it has simmered down some, and I would need to look at the data, and this just feels anecdotal, but I feel like teams, and maybe this is because the TV money is so good, and outside of the Bengals, there's not many teams that are drafting well that aren't paying these guys as soon as they're able to. I don't know if there's just more liquid available, but once you see like these good players hit 3 years of experience in the league, a lot of times those contracts are close to follow for some of those guys. At least that's been the case in Denver, Kansas City.
Here it's been
Ravens.
The 4th year, Terrell got it after his 4th year. Lindstrom got his after his 4th year. Pitts didn't want to sign Pitts to a long-term deal for his 5th-year option. They did that they've done this the right way because they can franchise tag him. I said Lindstrom, but the one that we're watching now is London, is Drake London. Drake London needs to be signed before the draft. And then you've got on a running back, I've got 2 years of cost control. He's guaranteed almost another $20 million. Bijan's going to be fine, but it is a deal. It is a deal for them.
And I would assume the timeline on this, Scott, is we're a year early on this. I don't think he will play on the 5th-year option, or if he does, there's an extension already built in. We're seeing that a lot across the league right now. But if I was his agent, I'd be like, show me the money right now, which you should be for what he's done so far in the position he plays. It's a different conversation compared to every single other position out there. So
yeah, and his impact is, again, he's a $20 million player. Forget the position. And there is a drop off. I looked it up, and it's like 20.6 for Saquon. I think McCaffrey was at 19, and then it goes down to 15, I think, for Jonathan Taylor on contract averages. I mean, you can make the argument that Jonathan Taylor's underpaid relative to the other two, but Bijan's a $20 million player, and you're going to get him for 7 this year and 11 next year. And I think you don't see holdouts anymore.
No,
for
not as much. Chris Jones
for rookie deals because they're guaranteed. Because the contracts are guaranteed.
But I think we're probably a year early on this conversation overall. Yeah. And what you will probably see is that contract, the 5th year, stay in place, and then 3 years tacked on top. It's like, well, he does not getting that contract until a year down the line. Well, the guarantee's in his pocket immediately, the bonus.
Yeah.
So
and it guarantees his $11.4 million for 2026 will guarantee in a few days. Yeah, so he's going to get that extension because the deadline to pick up the 5th-year option is May 1st, and that's the easiest decision Ian Cunningham will ever have to make in his entire career of being general manager of the Atlanta Falcons. Is, do we pick up Bijan Robinson's $11.4 million option? Yes, we do. Okay, good. That was easy. Wish they were all that easy. John, thank you for being a member, my friend. He says, question, guys, this staff isn't tied to Penix. Has he done enough to be named QB1? In a vacuum, I would say no, but we're not in a vacuum here. We're at the very least, the Falcons will take on a 22.5 dead cap hit this year on Kirk Cousins. Don't have a lot of money in free agency, and frankly, it's hard to get a starting quarterback in free agency anyway. And you don't have a first-round pick. So if you think he is going to be able to play in 2026 health-wise, you're not making some crazy move like trying to trade up for a crappy quarterback in this crappy quarterback class or mortgaging the future because your team's not good enough to try and spend $50 million again on another 36-year-old aging, declining, coming off an injury quarterback. So by default, I think he's QB1, but anybody that I'm talking to in the $10 to $15 million range as a backup, you're going to get a chance to compete. You'll get a chance to compete, but I don't see anybody coming in that will be a better option than a healthy Michael Penix for 2026. 2027, all bets are off.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that anything is possible as far as bringing in somebody that beats him out, but you're talking about a stopgap option, the Joe Flacco's of the world, which is not going to excite anybody. I hate even, saying that's how I view it, but just kind of is what it is with Penix at this point. So you don't have a lot to lose because of what are the expectations this year anyway. He's here. He's talent. He is raw gifted from an arm talent perspective. And there's just not many avenues to add guys. I mean, they're talking about Ty Simpson and Garrett Nussmeier potentially being first-round picks in this draft. Like, holy heck, like those guys.
I wouldn't even draft Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, with his injuries and stuff. I mean, I think there is value mid-round 3, mid-round 4, but the premium
5.
On that.
Go ahead. Watched him for a week, man. I wouldn't. No,
wouldn't touch him. That yeah. I mean, he just does not have the raw talent. He looks like a backup quarterback to me. So does Ty Simpson, for that matter. But
I haven't watched Ty Simpson as much. But watching Nussmeier, that's not my guy there any more than Cade Klubnik is.
Honest to God,
it's a bad year to need a quarterback. That's for sure.
If I was needing a quarterback, I would just take the raw toolsy guy day 3 if he's available, or be looking to do what a lot of these teams have done. Is there a first round pick that has flopped elsewhere that I am looking for to bring in and maybe reset the room? But you're probably right. I mean, this year it's a transition season. Everybody decision-making wide has a long rope, and they can kind of, hedge a bit this season where they're not committed to Penix. We have him here. He's talented. Here's your opportunity. Oh, you didn't look good. Oh, you got injured again. We have to move on. So it's not a good place to be, obviously, but it just kind of is the reality of the situation and which avenues you have in front of you.
And speaking of which, I said that Darnell Mooney was number 1 as salary cap candidates. He's really number 2. Number 1 is just so obvious that we've kind of forgotten about it with Kirk Cousins. He's basically already cut. That was him restructuring his deal so that he had an expiration date of March 13th. He will be that contract will be terminated by March 13th. Darnell Mooney, he's on 18.4 on his cap hit with a dead cap of 11. So that's $7 million in savings by getting rid of him, and then you can split that across 2 years. Another guy to look at, I think, is Charlie Warner. It's like, well, Charlie Warner is a pretty good player. Yeah, he is, but he's also a $6 million blocking tight end with a 1.25. So you save almost $5 million by moving on from Charlie Warner, and then you can try and find another blocking tight end. And blocking tight ends are usually league minimums. Those are like fullbacks these days. So there's 3 right there, and then we'll get some more. I want to get to Rusty, though. Rusty's got a fun question. Says, I redid the man cave. The wife don't want me to spend $2,500 on a reclining sofa with heat and air conditioner massagers and streams audio from the TV. Talk me into it, fellas. Here's what I will say. 1, how often do you buy furniture? Once, twice in your life? 2, never, ever, ever in my life have I regretted buying quality. I've regretted going cheap. As I'm sitting there thinking, you settled. Don't settle. If you're going to do it, if you can afford it. You don't want to look back and say, I wish I had done this, because you can't get rid of it. It's, once you've got it, that's like a 20-year commitment, man. Get the right stuff. It's not like TVs. I bought a 75-inch TV the other day, Nick, a couple weeks ago. 75-inch 4K TV. It's the cheapest TV I've bought in my life. And I started buying TVs in 1998. I bought a 32-inch, tube TV, Sony. It's like $800. Bought a rear projection in 2000. It was like $2,400. $450 for a 750. I could hang TVs and paint my wall with TVs cheaper than I could get some contractor in Johns Creek to come out and paint my wall. But that was what I would say. If you can't afford it, and you just have to stretch. So, maybe I'll have to eat ramen noodles for a couple of weeks. You'll never regret going with quality, ever.
The one pushback I have here, Scott, other than, big picture, maybe buy your precious metals. I don't know. But you're buying something with a lot of electronic doodads and gizmos. And when those break, those are hard to replace. Like you buy the quality, like when I think about cars, why I don't need all these functions. I need a car that is comfortable, safe, and has like good engine performance and everything like that. And I don't need this electronic, adjusted AI BS that costs me 10 times to replace, and I have to like be scheduled months out. So something with that many functions and features, I would just make sure that you have some assurances how it is able to be replaced, and you still like it if one of those things doesn't work anymore. Because
that's just my overall philosophy. Is you don't regret quality. I've rarely regretted things I've bought. I've regretted things I haven't. Damn, I should have got that.
And I'm much more of an experienced person myself, Scott, where I will spend money to go do something, or like something that's involved in an adventure versus at home.
But again, you're willing to pay the premium for the premium experience because the memories are forever. You're like, man, I'm so glad we did this. What if I decided we didn't want to go because I couldn't really afford it? No.
Yeah,
it's experiences. Like, I don't know. It's like, you remember how you used to stress over tests, and then like when you were younger, it's like, and then as you get older, you're like, why did I stress so much over that? In the grand scheme of things, don't ever tell my kids this. In the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that important. With this, it wasn't that important that I maybe stretched my budget a little thinner than I needed to 10 years ago. I got to do this. That was awesome. Let's get back to AJ, one of our members here. He says, what do y'all think about a possible Drake London extension? Looks like I'd say 5 years, 150, but feels like he should be between Amon-Ra St. Brown at 30 and AJ Brown at 32 per. The negotiation tactics have already started. Josh Kendall, putting out on X that the Falcons may think of him more as a 20-something million dollar type of receiver.
He's gone.
And that's already started. I think 150, 5 years, 150 with $100 million guaranteed. Then it ends up being a 3-year, $33 million. But it would be, the contract average would be 30. But always look at the guaranteed money, and it would be a 3-year, $100 million deal, basically, is what I think he's going to be in the neighborhood for. And then you start drafting receivers because you've got your number one there. Now I want rookie contracts. I want a receiver every year, Nick.
They're valuable enough that you want to be churning them at least, 2 out of every 3 years. And it also depends on how your running backs and tight ends fit into that. But you're right. I'm thinking that the guarantees probably need to be in the $100 million range. There are 3 players in that right now. And I would imagine that he's hunting because of how much the salary cap has gone up. And some of those contracts you're talking about, you're probably talking the 30. If I was him, 100 million guaranteed, 35 million average per year. That puts him in the CD Lamb, DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown range, which again, with inflation, just with where the cap is and everything, I think is he better than those guys? I think he's in the ballpark, and then it's the surplus due to inflation. Surplus may be the wrong word, but the additional money because of the inflation. So I'm guessing if you can get him for anything less than 32, it's a win in my book. I think he's probably 35 million per year, 4-year contract, with it essentially being a 3+1 kind of structure.
I don't want it. This is funny. Rusty says, honey, Scott said it was okay. Yeah. So appreciate it, Bills. No, you just think about how much time you're going to be spending in that and how long you're going to have it. But again, I am with Nick on this. Don't worry so much about the gadgets. As far as like a built-in AC in a chair. No. Get something that you like that's comfortable. And, that's to me, it's like, get something you like that's comfortable and, put an AC in the basement, buy an extra AC, stuff that you can change in and out. Because, I've got a futon in my office. And I was like, okay, Sean, my son doesn't sit in my man cave anymore. He took it over. But I've got a chair. He doesn't ever sit in the couch in there. So let me bring it here. I couldn't fit it in the damn door. So now I've got the futon sitting out in the little hallway out here because I hate the futon. And it's just sitting around. I'm like, I haven't sat in here and watched TV in my office for years because the chair sucks. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a new chair.
Quality, you're paying for the quality, the build, the material.
Yeah.
I think. So. I always get a little bit, maybe it's me becoming a boomer. The older man, I was like, I don't know about that technology. Like is that necessary?
It's more stuff to break.
That's what I worry about.
It feels like y'all remember about 6 or 7 years ago, everything said 3D on every television they ever did. I feel like that with AI now. I feel like that with AI. It's like, oh yeah, my toaster has AI. My toaster doesn't need AI.
Yeah.
It's like every marketing person in the world has turned around and said, if we don't say AI in our copy, nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah.
I don't need AI in everything.
Yep. Give me and I feel that way about appliances, Scott. Like I don't need everything connected to my central home hub. Is that kind of nice? But it feels like because of that, it's 10 times more expensive to break. Like give me something I can use that's quality for the next 40 years that I buy.
Cars, man. You got to have a computer engineering degree to work on cars.
Yeah.
It's been like that for a bunch of years. And Anthony comes in, he says, do you guys think we'll keep Bijan and Tyler? Bijan's staying. He's basically under control for at least 2 more years, probably 3 if you wanted to franchise him. So Bijan's not going anywhere. He is the franchise right now. Tyler's gone. Tyler will not stick around. I'm not going to put $5 to $7 million into Tyler Algier and a running back 2. It's funny, but his spot rack number is 3. And as I say, people, you look at these running back rankings, he's so underrated. It's like Javonte Williams is like 4 spots ahead of him. I'm like, you put Tyler Algier behind Dak Prescott with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens stretching the field for him and give the ball to Tyler Algier 300 times, and come and tell me that Javonte Williams, who was a fantastic running back, but now he's kind of just a guy, is a better running back than Tyler Algier, who has, knock on wood, never fumbled. Never. He set a record.
Yeah.
Or at least he's the leader of current guys. But I think he's right now, he's like the all-time, he's got the all-time most touches without ever fumbling in NFL history as far as, to begin a career. So Tyler's going to be an RB1. I still think around 7 million mark per year, 21 million, 15 guaranteed, $8 million signing bonus more in there, and go someplace. That's why people say, oh, we're linking him to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why? Why not? Why would he go to Tampa? That's nothing against Tampa, but he's not going to go be a backup to Bucky Irving. He can stay in Atlanta to do that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
He would probably, because we already saw last season, Bucky had drop off with injuries. So I'm guessing he'd probably get more carries than Bucky, because it's not always about the volume, the N, if you will, if you're a stats nerd, it's the efficiency from the running back position. So I'm expecting him to get 7 to 10 million a year, Scott, 3-year deal. And where would he go? My advice to Algier, go wherever is going to pay you the most, because this is probably the final contract for you. Maybe you'll get a third contract where you're close to vet min. Who knows what the next years bring, but this is the window. So, as much as I'd be like, hey, take 25% less to come to Denver. No way, man. This is your shot. Maximize squeeze all the blood out of that stone. Billionaires paying millionaires. Go get paid, sir.
This is, as Ozark says, I'd rather have Pookie. That's Javonte Williams, which is, if you hadn't already announced that you're a Denver Broncos fan, you just did. And there aren't a whole lot of neutrals out there that would agree with you. Tyler Algier is a better running back right now than Javonte Williams is. No doubt in my mind. Now, pre-injury, Javonte was different. And Tyler Algier, and they were close. Even then, they were close. Yeah. Tyler Algier is really, really, really good. Dogs, I hadn't heard too much about this. Is Michael Pittman Jr. will be released soon. Do you think he'll be valuable number 2 or 3 for us? Well, technically, yes. But Michael Pittman is basically Drake London, but he's been doing it for longer. Michael Pittman's a number 1. So I think he's part of the reason. When we talk about Alec Pierce has Michael Pittman on one side and Jonathan Taylor in the background, in the backfield. That is a great situation for Alec Pierce. If I pay Alec Pierce $30 million to come in and be my number 1 receiver, I'm not getting a number 1 receiver from Alec Pierce. I'm getting arguably the best number 2 in the NFL, who's in a very good situation right now. Michael Pittman and Drake London are very, very similar players. I love Michael Pittman.
The issue with Pittman is what are the 2 main stats that I talk about on here, Scott?
Contested catches, yards after catch.
Yards after catch. Well, I was going to say explosives, even more big picture. And Pittman doesn't necessarily bring an explosive element to the offense, whether it be after the catch or that just verticality from his ability to get on top of guys and make plays down the field. Now, he is a bully, but it's a lot more of the tough intermediate catches, which require a quarterback to trust the guy. He's not necessarily wide open. It's beat guys at the catch point when they're on him. So he's versatile. We saw actually a decent amount of inside-outside ability from him last season. And I think he's somebody, along with Drake London, while they both kind of fill similar roles, I think there's a pathway to get both of them on the field. So if he is available, I would be interested personally.
Huge
but
market.
He'll have a big market. You're right, Scott. And also you're talking about the allocation of resources for this Falcons team. I just have a hard time because you're already going to be paying, like, there's only so much of the budget to go around in these positions and skill positions in general. And you need to have money earmarked for Bijan and Drake London and potentially Kyle Pitts. Now, if you're bringing in, let's say you're moving on from Kyle Pitts, then there's a chunk of money that maybe you could use to pay him. But right now, I do think the top of the market wide receivers are going to be a harder sell for this team, Scott.
He's 28, and they've had just awful quarterback play. And I mean, not awful, but he hasn't had, I don't think he's had the same quarterback 2 years in a row in Indianapolis. So it's been shaky since he's been there. Michael Pittman is really, really good. He is a really good player. And and he's under the radar because, again, they haven't been winning, and the quarterback situation there has not been good. Pittman's a good player. Want to hit on a couple more guys. I think we hit on 3 for sure, and then we'll do a mock draft that could be salary cap casualties when we start looking at this. A couple easy ones on this. These guys were signed basically to 1-year deals, but we're going to extend them into 2. Kadero Hodge is on $3.3 million with very little dead money, $600,000. And then guard Kyle Hinton, believe it or not, is on 3-3 with $500,000 in dead money. So those guys are gone, and there's 1 minus 6.5. There's $5.5 million that opens up right there. I mean, you got to re-sign people. You still have to bring people in, but I don't need $7 million into Kadero Hodge and Kyle Hinton, the I don't play any guard. That just doesn't happen. So that one's on there. And Chris, you're right. And that's what Nick just said. We need to get going. So I've got this queued up on a mock draft. But those are 5 guys you can clear up a bunch of money for. Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney, Charlie Warner, Kyle Hinton, and I just said him. Who did I just say? Kadero Hodge, Kyle Hinton.
Hodge. Yep. Some other ones that are.
And there's a bunch of money right there that can be cleared up without any extensions or salary cap finagling.
Some other ones, just looking at the salary cap, where it's, again, I don't think the reason you didn't list them, Scott, is because they're not ones that you probably will do this with, but just the contract itself, at least you have to check it off, being like,
right.
What about this one? Nah. Divine Diablo, you can save $6 million with only $3 million dead. Depends on his injury, I guess. What you guys think of him going forward? He's
coming back. Yeah, they'll actually probably want to try and sign him to an extension and lower his cap number.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say give him another year, because he was signed basically to a 1-year deal with an option. He outplayed his option. So Divine's not going anywhere.
And then you have some rookie contract guys that they've already been prorated their signing bonus up front, where it's like, I don't know if we love you, former regime. Maybe there's some turnover there, at least especially after the draft. It might be like a post, like they don't make the 53-man roster from the 90 because of the cap savings that you can get from those guys. And you're talking about, let me see, I had him right here. Clark Phillips.
Clark Phillips to me is a guy that, again, when I preface this, I don't think he's necessarily a cap casualty. He's because he's not being paid a whole lot. I'm not good enough. He's a roster bubble guy, period. Not because of what he's being paid.
I do think, though, Ty can go with the savings on that front, where his contract, you only have $200,000 dead and you can save $3.5 million, just how the contract is structured. So again,
is that high?
Yes.
I didn't remember it being that
That's
high.
how it works. Yep.
We'll see. It depends on where you're looking, because I had this conversation yesterday when Garrett wrote it up. SpotRack calls him 1.34 million. And
I'm looking at over the cap.
Yeah, and over the cap has it differently. So I went with SpotRack.
Okay.
And SpotRack says he's 1.3, which makes more sense.
Yeah.
So because he hasn't played and he's toast.
Yep. You mentioned
even at 1.3, I consider him a roster bubble guy. And we're gonna get to this quickly.
Yeah, let's do it.
But Curtis coming in, we'll take our time. Curtis says, "Good morning, Scott, Nick, and Falcons Nation." That's all, y'all. Curtis, thank you for being a member and the super chat. What do you think about Juwan Jennings as an unrestricted free agent this year? I don't know enough about him, Nick.
He's a really good blocker, and I think he'll be valued in a Kyle Pitts scheme, or excuse me, a Kyle Shanahan-esque scheme, where that's half the league right now. But he can play that big slot where he's a little bit of wide receiver doing tight end things from a split alignment. So I don't know if he's necessarily what this Falcons team needs, Scott, is somebody to decompress the defense and create a little space, because Drake London isn't necessarily a vertical boundary 20 yards down the field kind of guy. You're looking for somebody to,
you need Alec Pierce to his Michael Pittman.
Yeah. Yep. You're looking for somebody to create some explosives with lower volume in terms of the passing targets necessarily. So like Tyreek Hill, somebody mentioned here, I wouldn't bring him in here because I don't think he's a POS.
It doesn't make sense for this team.
But that skill set
on several levels.
The Z, who can do a little bit inside outside stuff and bring some verticality to the offense. But you know me, Scott, I'm always here for, especially if you're trying to build the plane out of Bijan Robinson, somebody who can come in and block like a monster, like Juwan Jennings, and create, we've seen it with Bijan, a lot of opportunities here where for some teams, maybe it'd be a 10-yard run, but for him, he gets that one extra block and it's 80, 90 to the house. I mean, that blocking, I think it has a compounding effect on the offense. So we're going to get into it here, Scott. I know that you got your picks coming up here. We got Elijah Surratt, Drew Shelton. I will say Surratt was really talented. He just really, he doesn't move well, Scott. Like you watch him flip his hips and stuff, and like he still makes the plays, but I think it's the Jarvis Landry conversation where he was useful, but he fell to the third round. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he was
Jarvis didn't run that well. I had Jarvis at a camp, and I had him at like 4.77 2 different times. And LSU fans, because he was an LSU lock, like, is this going to be the number one receiver in the country? I'm like, no, he's not. And he was like, well, it's too soon. I'm like, I've already got 3 guys ahead of him. How's he ever going to be number one? But by the end of the year, by God, I put 5 stars next to his name, and he played it in college too. Yeah. I didn't look bad doing it. He was like that Anquan Bolden guy. I mean, he's just good, but the lack of speed is what really kept him, I believe, from being truly elite on the third level. High school elite, college elite, not quite fast enough. Golden Tate, y'all remember him? Loved Golden Tate. He was one of those guys too in college. Not John. That's not who I'm thinking of. Not Golden Tate. Golden Tate was good, but there was another receiver. He wore like number 20 that I loved for LSU, and he had a bazillion yards. Former running back receiver. Anyway, Mike, thank you for the super chat, my friend. I don't know that I'm going offensive tackle or wide receiver here. I went there, and I am going to. I took this before James Pierce was arrested. I took Zion Young before.
I do think there's a conversation for Max Iheanacho because I think he's got a chance to be the best tackle in this class. He is an absolutely unbelievable athlete. And talking with people who cover offensive line specifically, I mean, he didn't play football until college, JUCO, Scott, and he is ascending fast. And you know what I've said about this team? I mean, the wide receiver stuff, I feel like it's a more easily immediate solvable piece than the offensive line tends to be, where the offensive line is like a garden. It's the person who plants the tree that they'll never see the shade from. So again, this is a transition season for me, house money for a lot of these guys. So I'm not against Zion Young. Like again, Scott, if you like straight up have Zion Young higher, the edge position, he's more classic 4-3. He doesn't offer as much of the is he coming, is he going value that you see with some of these sim pressure teams. But I do think there is a conversation for Max here, as well as Blake Miller. I think both of these guys are going to end up first round picks at offensive tackle. So again, I'm here for Zion, but I think edge is deep enough where you have to have a conversation about offensive line too at the same time. Tackle.
Well, we've got a trade in here. It says, why would they not? They're not interested in trading for this pick. Then why did you say they did? Oh, trade 0 because I don't have my glasses on. That says 0, not 6. That's why I'm like, well, shoot, let's move down one spot. We got no trades for this one. Can
you scroll down too, just a little bit, see if there's any wide receiver that like just pops on here? So far, no.
Not really.
No, I don't like Bernard that much. Chris Johnson's a really good.
Derek Moore.
Oh,
in 11v11, I think he was actually better than Zion Young.
He's different. Zion brings that early down size and length, where Moore is.
But Derek did a really good job against a run and setting an edge too. When I was watching, because I just watched 3 days of 11v11 of this team, and I'll start putting those out there. It would be
Zion or Max. I mean, it depends on.
How would y'all feel in the taking Max makes a lot of sense, but it would be a little anticlimactic. This isn't a guy that can necessarily. Well, you might be able to. The problem is like, God, I wish I could cut Caleb McGarry this year. Next year you can. He's on 15.5, or he's only got like $1 million in dead money. So this is the last year of Caleb McGarry's contract. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me here, especially not knowing what we've done in free agency here. We've got to go tackle first round here. I think he's more of a sure thing. I think he's a safer pick than anybody else. I can go tackle here.
I think about this team long term, especially with where they are in terms of their.
They're gonna need a tackle, and they might need a quarterback in 2027, and you don't want to need both.
You cannot need both. I mean, that's
because you're running out of tackle room with Matthews and McGarry. Their time is about up. I don't want to need both in 2027.
I really like Max. There's going to be a conversation about Blake Miller as well.
I can live with that. Let me see. Okay, so we're here. This is where I start to like to trade down a little bit.
Yeah.
Jake Slaughter was really good in team at 11v11. I'm not all that interested in tight end. It's too early for me for a running back. Corner makes a lot of sense. Wide receiver, Malachi Fields makes a lot of sense here.
As does Daryl Jackson.
Let's see. I don't want to trade all the way down to 92. Let's see, unless I can get that's 13 spots. Unless you want to give me 127 and 133. All right, we traded down. We traded down here. And that changes things. That changes things a lot here. Now I've at linebacker and tight end are my top 3 picks. Interior lineman. Antonio Williams was thought to be a first-round pick at one point. He battled some injuries at wide receiver. Tyreek Sapp at edge is interesting, but not sure that's the direction we want to go.
I really like Stukes a lot as well if he's healthy. He's really talented.
Need a corner. Do you like Stukes, Williams, or what was the other corner? There was another corner, wasn't there? I'm gonna get y'all sick going up and down. I think
you're talking about Antonio Williams at wide receiver, which you
like Antonio Williams at wide receiver.
I probably lean Antonio Williams here. He's got ability to come in immediately. I don't know how much value he offers necessarily in 12 personnel from the Z, but slot, living in 11 personnel, I think he's somebody who brings.
And now with one of my additions, this isn't one of my additions, but now I've got 3 picks coming up quickly. And here's where my number 1 pick on the board is a corner. We need a corner.
He's a slot. It depends on what you think of Bowman. For that
one, also depends on what you think of D. Alford too. So, yeah. J.C. Davis is solid tackle, but we're okay there. Linebackers a need. Austin Barber did really good in teams too. He played well in teams, but that's just me talking. I don't want to take him here. Cornerback, I need more depth here. I'm on PFF, Chris. I'm on PFF right now. I'm going to go corner in that spot, knowing that we got 2 picks coming up here quickly. Chris McClellan was okay. I feel like I could do better than that. Now with 2 extra picks, I could go for a running back that we're going to need.
I think Nate Borkerker could be the best blocking tight end.
There you go. There's $4 million in savings right there. There's my Charlie Warner replacement.
If you're talking about moving on from Warner. Here, I think Allen, Ketron Allen makes sense here. We could go back to wide receiver 2.
He's immediate running back 2. He steps in as running back 2, and he's a big dude too, if I remember right. He's got some size to him to take some of those and 1 situations that Tyler Algier. It was funny. People were like, well, his yards per carry wasn't that great last year. Tyler's weren't. That's because he got half of his carries in and 1 situations where 2 yards was a win, a big win, facing a stack box on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten a linebacker. Jeremiah Wright had a really nice Senior Bowl.
Key is really talented at wide receiver if you wanted to double up there. I think Caleb Douglas also talented.
I'd like to come out of this with a linebacker, but I don't see him. That Mike, the quarterback, Cole Payton, can usually get him even a little bit later with 231. Cole Payton hasn't moved up at all on these boards yet, so I can usually nab him in the 7th.
Safety running back, be a good guard in the league as well.
We get a big DL yet?
We haven't gone DL. No.
How big's DeMonte? 6'5", 315. Let's get a big DL.
Good for rotation. I mean, 6th round.
I'm not going to complain about taking a 300-pounder defensive lineman in the 6th round.
No.
Need a DL. I still need a linebacker too.
Recruiting pedigree. This is also where you can take a shot on a quarterback. This late, just somebody in here, even if he's a backup, that's fine.
Coleman gone, Mike. No, see, there he is at 238.
What did you think of Taylor Green at the Senior Bowl?
Could be useful in packages, toolsy. I mean, he had the strongest arm. He was the biggest guy. He was the fastest guy.
But
he was erratic as hell, and Cole Payton can run almost as well, and he's left-handed, 230 pounds, looks like Tim Tebow out there, and threw the ball a lot better.
Yeah, personally, I have the 7th-round pick. I'm probably swinging for the fences. Whoever I think has the better tools is probably who I swing on. But if you want to take Peyton,
Peyton's
God bless you.
Plenty tools, and he only played 1 year as a starter, so his upside is still there. So I'd go. If it's between Cole Payton and Taylor Green, I would take Cole Payton on these guys. And then let's just take a look at linebacker. I tell you, the linebacker who I really liked, there are a couple of them actually, but was Heineke out of Oklahoma. Was really good. But I do think I want to go with Payton here at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Cole Payton draft. Terry says, if the Raiders were down for it, would you trade pick 38? We don't have pick 38, so maybe 48 for Max Crosby. If I could get Crosby for 48, I'd probably do that in a heartbeat. Yeah, do that in a heartbeat.
Without question.
Yeah.
Hit submit. Slam that. So you add a cost
because
control option.
Tight end. I got a tight end. I already re-signed. I already franchise tagged my tight end, and I took a tight end later for blocking purposes. But yeah, Max Crosby would still go for a 1st-round pick and change if and when he hits the market. So
he's only 28 years old still.
Yeah, he's got 4 years of his prime left. And like I said, if in 2024, if you had offered the number 8 pick, which turned into be Michael Penix, if you had offered the number 8 pick to the Raiders for Max Crosby, you would have been laughed out of the building. No way. And they needed a quarterback. They're like, no, we're not trading number 8 and a chance to draft Michael Penix for Max Crosby. But then as soon as he puts on a Falcons uniform and people become emotionally attached to him, and the brass starts talking about all these wonderful things about how awesome our franchise quarterback is and people are invested in him, then it was heresy to talk about trading Michael Penix for Max Crosby, despite the fact that he hadn't thrown a single pass in the NFL.
He's the savior, Scott.
So I knew what you meant, Terry. It's cool. So Max is he's a top 10, I would say, of most valuable defensive player in the NFL.
Yeah.
So
I mean, edge. If you're a pass rusher, you're going to be up there. I think this is a pretty good draft.
We went tackle, and this ended up being one of those future picks, really. But again, you were on your 3rd right tackle this year. You don't really have a 3rd tackle, period, left or right this year. I don't really care if Storm Norton comes back or not. He hasn't played, and he was just a guy anyway. And McGarry, we don't know. McGarry's got his problems anyway. Max could beat McGarry out head up, and then McGarry becomes a swing tackler. Kick him into guard at times. He's a bulldozer. Let McGarry be your 6'7", 6 offensive lineman tight end type when you want to go big and jumbo. So we dress wide receiver. Antonio Williams has some upside. Need a corner. I feel like what we did not come out of here with was a linebacker
or an edge.
I have said, Nick, it's fairly easy to get productive linebackers in free agency for cheap.
Yep. The one that's tough here is edge, but you made your bed when you went premium positions with your first 2 and you're lacking premium picks. So no matter what, somebody's not going to have a seat as far as the position there. And we opted for stability and upside on the offensive line, which from where this team is at, again, we've talked about it a lot. You're probably in an evaluation year this year. This is a pick that whoever your quarterback is, whether it be Penix, again, this could be a Penix savior long-term, or whoever comes in afterwards, you're setting up your position and room to be better. And also the other aspect is we talked about to start the show, Scott, how horrific the offensive line was for the Browns this last season. It's a non-starter for a functioning offense, especially from a Stefanski perspective. So this is something that's setting the table being like, we cannot be that bad on the offensive line and function. So
and what we don't, because you have to have tackles. Have to. You can't hide those guys. I can hide edge rushers a little bit. I can hide guys on defense a little bit, scheme around them. I don't want to be in the position in 2027 going into next year's draft. God, it's 27 already.
Yeah.
Where I have to have a tackle. Well, I got one. Now I'm good. Now I feel better about things.
And I think he's going to go he's going to end up going top 20. Also, it's not just like we win a tackle, Scott. It's somebody who's talented that the simulator I don't think is caught up on yet.
Yeah. I'm actually going to put his video up today. I went through all of the teams yesterday, and then all of the ground one-on-ones from day 3. So basically, I've got all of the Max Iannaccio. I can't pronounce his name.
I think that's good enough. I think it's Iannaccio.
Iannaccio. I went through I've got all of his video logged. I just have to cut it up and put it up. That will be done today. So pay attention to the YouTube channel, and I will have his highlights up there today. He's chippy. He gets in a little bit extra. He's not dangerous, dirty like Trevor Penning was, who's actually trying to injure people. He is, I'm going to give you a little extra shove to the face as soon as the whistle blows, kind of nasty.
And I come out for a lot of these positions, especially in the trenches, Scott, like how many people walking the earth are actually that tall, long, explosive, and fluid. Those guys are easier to identify. And again, it's technique will matter at the end of the day, but like he has the requisite traits to be a 10-year option at offensive tackle, which is very valuable for this team. And typically you're getting those guys, they don't fall past pick 30 most seasons. So again, I don't think he will be here an option for you.
6'5" and 5'8", 325 with 34.5-inch arms.
I mean, he's prototype.
Yeah.
And he moves different. So kind of reminds me, oh gosh, who was the right tackle that the Cowboys ended up taking a couple years ago from Oklahoma?
I don't remember. They had like a Tyron and a something Smith they had a couple of them for a while.
Not Tyler Smith.
And then Tyron was the guy scouted in California that was there forever.
They took a tackle who is, again, year one. Was the ROI incredible? No, it's an offensive tackle.
While you're looking that up real quick, Chris, what if Bergeron moves to left tackle? I mean, he played tackle in college, but I start wondering, like, how long can you play guard in the NFL and then move over to tackle? I don't know how often that happens. I don't know. Assuming, and here's the other thing about this, Chris, is I think Matthews will be here longer than McGarry. At the very least, they're both gone, next year. But I have a hard time seeing McGarry. He won't be back on that contract. At the very least, they'd give a 2-year extension on that. So, but if you're talking about maybe moving to right tackle, that would be different. But McGarry is on his last year. I think this is his last year as a Falcon. Michael, good to see you. Appreciate Island Mike taking care of us. He was powering us up with some coffee. And then I got my Lion Coffee care package in the mail this week too. My goodness, Patrick.
Lance got
Lion
it too.
Coffee. Thank you
Tyler
so much.
Guyton.
Go ahead.
Tyler Guyton. He's dealt with injuries, but talented. And I do like the premium resources along the offensive and defensive line when possible, because then you can dictate terms up front. Your playbook is open when your offensive line can block and you're a threat to run on every down because the offensive line is good.
Didn't they have like a Tyron and 2 Tylers?
They took Tyler Booker, Tyler Smith, left guard, right guard, and then Tyler Guyton. Are they all 3 Tylers? Yeah, you're right. It is.
Well, no, wow. Tyron Smith was the kid from
but now
the desert out in California. He was 245 pounds. I said, this is the best damn offensive lineman in the country. He was the first guy taken that year too.
Yeah.
Nick, you get out of here. Say goodbye to everybody. I'm going to continue the conversation just for a moment.
Say goodbye to everybody. All right. See ya. Bye.
Thanks, Nick. We'll see you later. Continue the conversation here for just a moment. What's the greatest moment in Atlanta sports history? I say the slide. Sid Bream, Game 7, bottom of the 9th. What say y'all? That one or Morton Anderson's field goal are the two I remember being like most out of my mind excited about. And the third one, and nobody ever thinks of this guy, is Evander Holyfield knocking out Mike Tyson. That one is up there too. Whenever anybody starts talking about like the greatest things in Atlanta sports, people always forget about Evander. Evander is my all-time favorite Atlanta athlete. Number 1. So, it wasn't necessarily in Atlanta, but we claim Evander Holyfield and him winning that one. I was out at was it $3 Cafe in Buckhead when that happened, watching that on the big screen with a bunch of people. That was a blast. AJ, I've watched this one a lot of times. Not the greatest moment, but Jorge Soler's huge home run. Thing of beauty. My God. My goodness. And Terry, I didn't even want to bring this up, but it wasn't necessarily the catch, but the pick 6, I think, was when I was like, again, cheering to the point where you don't even know what you're doing, was the pick six earlier. That game was a bigger one for me even than that catch. I didn't want to bring it up because of how it happened, because it was a fleeting moment. Michael, should we go after Chubb from the Dolphins? Chubb's battled injuries. I still think he's going to be a little more expensive. We'll see where it comes up. But hell, I mean, he had like 11 and a half sacks. It was the second highest total of his career. So you're on the phone with him for sure coming in. You're definitely on the phone with him. So yes, he's an option. I don't think Tyreek Hill is. Bradley Chubb is somebody, I think he'd pick somebody else. He's played his whole career in the AFC. He's getting a little bit older now, so would probably choose somebody that's a little bit closer, and he's made a ton of money already. Would probably have the option to choose somebody that's a little bit closer to competing, and being one of those teams is nice. You know, when you're a top 8-10 team in the NFL, you get guys like this. When you're mid-tier or lower, you don't. So that's where I think on Chubb. But Chubb would be a useful piece. He sets an edge well. He's a bigger guy. That Chubb would be a good option. And Halsey says, no, the kick. I was in an apartment with shared walls, and ironically, the guy I was neighbors with was a Vikings fan. So he came over when he heard us and came and knocked on the door and gave us because I watched that one. That was probably January of '99. So I was still in an apartment at the time. I bought my first house in 2000. That one, I remember, there's a few times where you're just giddy, and that was one of them, especially for an 80s kid, who hadn't seen hardly any kind of success up until that point. So Halsey says, did injury at right tackle cost the Falcons a Super Bowl? Which year which one do you mean? I don't remember on that one. Certainly not this year. That wasn't the problem this year with injuries at right tackle. Mike coming in says, what about the backup QB? That's Malik Willis from Roswell High School. He's from just down the street. Are they going to re-sign him in Green Bay? Probably can't afford him. Could we get him? Probably not, because he's probably going to be in the 20 million range. One, I think that's too much for a guy with such a small sample size. Two, I don't think the Falcons can afford it anyway. Three, a young guy like that will want a chance to be named the starter. He'd want to go to a place where I can be the starter for a year for sure. And I don't think that's going to happen here in Atlanta. But yeah, he's from Roswell too. So I can pass Centennial High School where Mike McDonald is on the way to Roswell to where Malik Willis was on those guys. So want to say thanks again to y'all for coming in. You can get a final look at our draft. What did we get? A B? We got an A-, top 38% on this. I would like to have come out of this with a linebacker and maybe a defensive lineman a little sooner, but we've got a foundational piece at tackle and then two premium positions of need with our next two picks. So solid on that. And yes, the number 2 quarterback in that draft was Desmond Ridder. And so he went before Malik Willis. And the number 1 quarterback in that draft was the last guy taken, which was Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. So listen, y'all, I'm going to get out of here. Was that Tyson Clabo? I didn't remember that. I wasn't quite as invested in my time and knowing all the players in 2016 as I am nowadays, where I make a living covering the Atlanta Falcons. I didn't then. So wasn't quite a casual, but close. But I do want to say thank you to all of y'all that have come in, including Jerry, our new member, Demetrius, again, shout out for becoming a new member in the last couple of days. Denver Luke, one of our Broncos fans, comes in and checks in. Rusty, good luck with the man cave. But just think how long you're going to have it. Hey, I'm going to buy this for the next 2 decades. If you can afford it, get what you want. You don't want regrets and something like that. Every time you sit in your chair, man, I wish I'd gotten something else. Curtis, thanks for being a member, and the super, and Mike as well. So I'm going to get out of here. Make sure you are paying attention to Garrett. Garrett will be back on Thursday night. And then we also do Braves podcast now. Otherwise, I will be back on Friday. We'll follow up any kind of news and we'll run through a mock draft. That is members only. That is members only. I've added that for just our members. We're knocking on the door of 100. And as soon as we get to 100, I will raffle off a jersey to our members for the 100 people, 100 names we have there. A jersey of your choice that would be available to you. Otherwise, I'm going to get out of here. I got some day baseball today. We're 4:00 over at Mount Pisgah. It's nice when your away game is the school that's closest to your house. Love that. And then I will see y'all on Friday. Appreciate everybody for being here. Thank you for the support. Y'all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on Friday.